Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. I hope you all are doing well. It is Monday morning, as I'm sure you can tell by my voice. I have lost it just a little bit. There was a footy game on yesterday that I don't know if many people are aware of, but it was the first time England have been in a European Championship final for over 50 years. So of course I had to go out and watch the game. So if I do sound a little bit croaky, that's why, because I've slightly lost my voice, mainly from screaming and shouting at how good Jordan Pickford is throughout the entire game, to be honest with you, and not just the entire game, but throughout the entire tournament as well. And Jordan is the topic of conversation today, because when I was watching the game yesterday and I was seeing him saving penalties and making big saves, as I have thought throughout the entire tournament when he's made those types of saves, I was thinking Jordan Pickford deserves to be spoken about. Jordan Pickford deserves for people to sit down and actually go, do you know what? This lad is a really, really good goalkeeper, and he's had a lot of unnecessary stick over the last 12, 18 months or so, and certainly throughout his footballing career. And a lot of people that for some reason seem to doubt his ability as a goalkeeper, when every time he's put an England shirt on, he's been absolutely outstanding. He saved England in a World Cup quarter-final against Colombia in a penalty shootout a couple of years ago, and he couldn't have done anything more yesterday. He couldn't have done anything more whatsoever. When you go into a penalty shootout against Italy, who are one of the best teams in penalty shootouts in football and history, and your goalkeeper saves 2 of the 5 penalties, what more can he do? But not just in the penalty shootout, throughout the entire game, he made 2 or 3 really, really good saves to deny Italy at a time when England looked really tired and void of ideas in the game, and Jordan Pickford once again was the hero. And for me, he 100% needs to be spoken about, because even throughout the course of the Euros, a tournament that Jordan Pickford for me should be winning player of the tournament, absolutely no doubt about it. I know Donnarumma won it, and to be fair to Donnarumma, he was absolutely excellent last night and has been very good for Italy throughout the tournament. But for me, Jordan Pickford should be winning that player of the tournament all day long. He won the Golden Glove, whether it's an official trophy or not. He won the Golden Glove. He has broken your record for most amounts of time and minutes gone without conceding a goal in an England shirt. He's breaking clean sheet records left, right and centre. But still, even given those records being broken, and even given the constant fantastic performance after fantastic performance that Jordan Pickford has put in over the last 3-4 weeks or so, you've still had pundits, you've still had opposition fans, and you've still had various different people, even England fans, who were doubting Jordan Pickford's ability. And what I would say to that is, as the title of the live stream reads, Jordan Pickford has silenced every single doubter yesterday. Every single fan or pundit or member of the media who believes Jordan Pickford isn't good enough. There were some people, can you believe that there were some people prior to this tournament who thought Jordan Pickford shouldn't have been England's #1 goalkeeper? They thought Dean Henderson should have taken it over Jordan Pickford. Some even putting Aaron Ramsdale's name ahead of Jordan Pickford. Now, nothing against Dean Henderson or Aaron Ramsdale, or in fact Nick Pope. I know Nick Pope wasn't fit, but even if he was fit, he's nowhere near good enough to even lace Jordan Pickford's boots or strap his gloves up. But nothing against any of those 3 goalkeepers, but it's matter of fact that they're nowhere near as good as Jordan Pickford is, and Jordan Pickford proved that yesterday. And I've, obviously seeing England lose wasn't great. It was a gutting feeling. What I would say is, to anybody watching this live stream that is an Evertonian, and I'm sure there's a lot of Evertonians watching, we all know that feeling, don't we? It wasn't anything of a surprise. We know how it feels to be let down at the last hurdle. We know how it feels to get all of our hope and all of our dreams and wishes all brought to the surface and then just absolutely smashed to bits. So if you're an Evertonian supporting England last night, to the rest of the nation, that's what it feels like being an Evertonian. It feels like that, getting to the end of things, thinking that there's a big chance of winning a major tournament, and then just getting your dreams smashed to bits. That's what it's like to be an Evertonian. But even to every Evertonian watching last night, and again, like I said, it's not great for England to lose, and it was still devastating. I couldn't have been more proud of Jordan Pickford. I really, really couldn't. And I left the pub last night after watching the game feeling, a bit gutted, a bit dejected, a bit frustrated and sad that England hadn't won. But my feeling of pride for Jordan Pickford and his performance overrode the feeling of sort of being gutted for England. And you might say, Cam, that's because you're an Evertonian and you care more about your club and your country, etc. But it's not. It's because Jordan Pickford's a goalkeeper who has been absolutely vilified by the British and English media over the last 24 months or so, given a certain incident that happened in a Merseyside derby that was a blatant accident. He was absolutely vilified for it. He was put on the back pages, the front pages of newspapers every single day for months and months and months on end, to the point where he had to get security outside of his house. He was receiving threats from fans. He had the media constantly at his throat. He had players coming out and doing interviews reminding people of that situation months after it had happened and months after it had been, it had been done and dusted and over with. And yet he still come through all of that. And to any non-Evertonian that's watching this, by the way, that Jordan Pickford performance yesterday wasn't a surprise to any of us. Any Evertonian watching this stream or watching the game yesterday wouldn't have been surprised by that Jordan Pickford performance, because that's the type of performance Jordan Pickford had put in from February onwards, from that Merseyside derby where Everton beat Liverpool at Anfield 2-0. Jordan Pickford hadn't put a foot wrong, or a glove wrong, shall we say, in an Everton shirt for the rest of the season. So no Evertonian was surprised at that yesterday, because Jordan Pickford had been our best player for the last 4 months of the season. No doubt about it. He'd saved us on a number of occasions. So him turning up and saving England in a European Championship final wasn't a surprise whatsoever. It might have been a surprise to, some opposition fans who still, to this day, seem to doubt him and seem to not think he's good enough. But it wasn't a surprise to any Evertonian, because we've seen Jordan Pickford pull out world-class save after world-class save over the last 3 or 4 months of his season at Everton Football Club. And like I said, I just couldn't have been any prouder to support the football club that Jordan Pickford plays for, because he silenced a lot of people yesterday. He has silenced a lot of people. And just like we sat here after that Merseyside derby and we said that he'd silenced a lot of the demons that he had on his shoulders over the Merseyside derby and what happened a couple of years ago and this, that and the other, he silenced every single one of his critics. I don't want to hear any criticism for Jordan Pickford now, from now onwards. I don't want to hear any of it. Yes, he's had his up and downs at Everton. Yes, he's made mistakes. Yes, he's had some situations where people have doubted him. But as a goalkeeper, that lad is absolutely fantastic. Top 1 or 2, 3 goalkeepers in the Premier League. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. One of the best goalkeepers in the world at this current moment. And you cannot disagree with it. It's pure fact. The lad's just won the Golden Glove. Kept 5 clean sheets in, 7 games. He's just, broken records for the length of time going without conceding a goal in an England shirt. He's just saved 2 penalties against the Italians in a penalty shootout. The Jorginho penalty being absolutely unbelievable. By the way, go and watch that penalty save again. It's unbelievable. Jorginho doesn't miss penalties. Look at his record for Chelsea. He doesn't miss penalties. And Jordan gave England the chance again to go and get, take that shootout into sudden death. And look, I'm not going to sit here and blame anybody for it. I think if there's anything that we've witnessed over the last, sort of 12 hours or so, it's that the world is a truly horrible place and a truly cruel place that we're living in. And I seen a tweet last night from Laura. She's an Evertonian. You might know her if you're an Evertonian, you follow her. And she tweeted out literally as soon as Saka missed the penalty, she tweeted out that the worst feeling in the world is watching Saka, Rashford and Sancho miss the penalties, and the first thought coming into your mind is the abuse that they're going to receive post missing those penalties. And that is an indication of the horrible, cruel, disgusting world that we live in. And I remember reading the tweet and thinking, didn't even think about that. And yet you go to bed after it and you wake up and lo and behold, those 3 players, including, Bukayo Saka, who had the bollocks at 19 years old to step up and take a game deciding penalty in the penalty shootout, they're being abused left, right and centre. And it's absolutely disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And it is. It just shows what a horrible, cruel, disgusting world that we live in. That footballers, Marcus Rashford has just raised over £200 million because our government are inept and wouldn't feed children who couldn't be fed through, circumstances that were no fault of their own. And Marcus Rashford, a 22, 23-year-old footballer from Greater Manchester, stood up against the government and stood up against everybody and said, no, do you know what? That's not right, and I'll make sure that these children are being fed. I'll make sure that these children have got food on the table. And some people want to criticise him for missing a penalty in a penalty shootout. Football is massively important, and yesterday was massively important, but it's not as important as life, and it's not as important as some people make it out to be. And the things that Marcus Rashford has done for this country over the last 12 or 18 months means that he can miss 15 penalty shootouts in 15 European Championship finals for England, and he shouldn't get any stick for any of them. Because that man genuinely is one of the nicest human beings you will ever find on this planet, and what he has done for the children of our country and for the people of our country, standing up against the status quo, standing up against the government and saying, no, this is wrong, these children need to be fed, these children deserve to be fed. He's used his status as a footballer, he's used his celebrity status for something good, not like a lot of footballers do, going out and buying flashy cars, which is no problem, by the way, because it's their money and they can do what they want, buy flashy cars, flashy whatever. But Marcus Rashford has gone, hang on, I've witnessed something happening here in this world that isn't right, and I'm going to use my status as a celebrity, as a footballer, as a global presence to change this, and he's done that. So I don't care how many penalties Marcus Rashford misses. I don't care how many big chances Marcus Rashford misses. That lad shouldn't get any criticism whatsoever. And neither should Jadon Sancho, and neither should Bukayo Saka. Should they have been the penalty takers? In my opinion, no. I don't think you give a game-deciding penalty to a 19-year-old lad. I don't agree with it. But I've got nothing against Bukayo Saka taking that penalty. In fact, I've got so much admiration for him. Because he's a 19-year-old lad who's just stepped up, got the bollocks to step up and take that penalty. And that, for me, deserves nothing but praise and nothing but admiration. And if you're abusing those players in any way, shape or form, and I can't even believe that we're having to talk about racial abuse still in 2021. I cannot believe that people still think it's acceptable to abuse players or people or anybody for the colour of their skin or for the origin of where they're from or where they are born. It's absolutely sickening. It really, really is sickening. And equally as sickening is the fact that we know this was going to happen. We knew this was going to happen after the penalty misses. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And if you're criticising the players, then for me you're a fool. You criticise the decision making by Gareth Southgate, which again I do question. Who were Gareth Southgate's 5 penalty takers? Why Jack Grealish wasn't in there? Why Raheem Sterling wasn't in there? For their pure experience in themselves. But do not criticise those players who stepped up and took a penalty, because they stepped up and took a penalty in a very pressured situation. And yes, it didn't go the way we wanted it to, but these things happen in football. And like I said, football is for what the things that certainly Marcus Rashford has done, and I know Jadon Sancho's done a lot for charity, and I know that Bukayo Saka's done a lot for his community as well. But the things that Marcus Rashford has done for this country and the children of this country over the last 12 months or so, I don't care if he misses 14 penalties in European or World Championship finals. Doesn't matter. It doesn't go against how good of a human being that fella is. But yeah, I thought I'd touch on that because look, it'd be silly of me to talk about the game yesterday and not touch on the blatant arrogance and, let's be honest, knobheadness of certain people who are just absolutely disgusting. And if you're one of those people abusing people on social media and racially abusing people, firstly, get off the channel because you're not welcome anywhere near the channel. And secondly, I really, really do hope you're caught, and I hope you're prosecuted, and I hope you're sent away with the key thrown away, because that's nothing less than what you deserve, because it's absolutely disgusting. But yeah, like I said, I felt like I couldn't talk about the game without mentioning that, because it's unfortunately it's it's happening, and it's happened today and this morning. Which again, Gary Neville spoke about it on Sky Sports. He said it's sickening that it happens, but it's even more sickening that you expect it to happen in this day and age, and it's just absolutely disgusting. So again, nothing but admiration and respect for Bukayo Saka, Marcus Rashford and Jadon Sancho for stepping up and taking those penalties, because they deserve nothing but admiration and respect for that. To have the balls to do that is something that maybe other England players didn't have, and that's why they didn't step up to take a penalty. But anyway, on to Jordan Pickford, who's the topic of conversation. Again, like I said, absolutely unbelievable performance yesterday. Unbelievable performance. And this is an Everton international roundup, so we are going to talk about Brazil's defeat to Argentina in the in the Copa America final in a little bit. We're going to talk about Yerry Mina's win with Colombia in the third place playoffs of the Copa America as well. So this is not just the Jordan Pickford video. We're going to talk about Everton players abroad, internationally. The international tournaments are over now. The Euros is over. The Copa America is over. The Olympics is due to begin. Of course, Richarlison will go away with Brazil for that. But I thought, before we get into talking about the real Everton stuff, i.e. your Moise Keanes, which we will talk about in the next couple of days, your James Rodriguez, who we'll talk about in the next couple of days, I thought we may as well wrap up the international sort of bits and bobs and stuff and talk about that in one live stream as well. So yeah, look, again, Jordan Pickford, nothing much more we can say, is it, other than that he's an absolutely fantastic goalkeeper and he has silenced every single one of his critics over the last 2-3 weeks or so. Forget not just last night was amazing, he really was, it really was, but not just last night, the 6 games prior to last night, Jordan Pickford, with the exception of maybe the Denmark game where he looked a little bit nervous, he hadn't put a foot wrong in any of the other games, and again proving that he's not just England's number one, he's one of the best goalkeepers in world football. Forget England's number one tag, or should he be England's number one. This is one of the, this lad is one of the best goalkeepers in the world. He absolutely should be his country's number one, and I'm proud that he's Everton's number one as well. And he should have won player of the tournament. He absolutely should have won player of the tournament. And Donnarumma won it in the end. And look, Donnarumma was, again, fantastic last night and fantastic in the penalty shootout. Personally, of course, I'm going to have a bias. I believe Jordan Pickford should have won it. Obviously, he won the Golden Glove, whether it's an official award or not really interested. He won the Golden Glove. He got the most clean sheets. And yeah, I'm just immensely proud of Jordan Pickford. I'm immensely proud of Jordan Pickford because the amount of doubters he had, the amount of, people even throughout this tournament who believed he wasn't good enough and believed, the amount of people within the media, by the way, and pundits who you would see, tweet out on numerous occasions that if England aren't to win this tournament, it will be purely down to Jordan Pickford making a mistake. It's horrible to say this because I don't agree with saying this about any player, by the way. But the amount of people, you're seeing tweeting out saying that if England weren't to win, it would be solely down to Jordan Pickford. If England were to lose this tournament, it would probably be because of a Jordan Pickford mistake. When the reality of the situation is, without Jordan Pickford, England wouldn't have got to the Euros finals. Without Jordan Pickford, England probably wouldn't have even got out the group stage. So forget England would have lost the tournament because of Jordan Pickford. England wouldn't have been anywhere near the latter stages of the tournament without Jordan Pickford. So if anybody is wanting to criticise Jordan Pickford, I'm not standing for it. I'm simply not standing for it because you're talking utter bollocks and you haven't got a clue about football. This lad is one of the best goalkeepers on the planet at the moment and has been for the last 4 or 5 months. Forget England. He was doing this for Everton, game in, game out, towards the back end of the season. He didn't put a foot wrong. He was absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. You can go and watch our player ratings for the season that we put out 2 months ago, a month ago when the season ended, whenever it was, and we talked about how impressive Jordan Pickford has been for the last 4 or 5 months. We've known he's seen people. He's seen whether it be psychics or various different people that have sat down with him and talked about his performances and how he can improve and the mental side of the game, something that we've all sort of said Jordan Pickford needs to focus on. And he's focused on that now, and he's become a much better goalkeeper for it. Amanda Stevens says, what Pickford has done in the Euros has made him not a problem in between the sticks. We don't need to buy a new one. He is world-class. Rafa will do well with us. Let's hope so. Big thanks, by the way, for the £20 donation, Amanda. Really do appreciate that, honestly. It means a massive amount to me. Thank you so much, Amanda. And I agree, there was Evertonians that, throughout the course of last season, and maybe at one point I was one of those Blues myself that were doubting Jordan Pickford and was sort of thinking, right, maybe we need a new goalkeeper this summer. We definitely don't need a new goalkeeper this summer. I think that's absolutely blatant. If you're enjoying, by the way, please do hit that like button. It only takes a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. Really do appreciate all of the support. Tazio says, Cam, let's talk about Everton now, and do you think we will get any new signings through the door this week? We are going to talk about Everton. Obviously, Everton have been linked with a couple of players over over the last sort of 24 hours or so, and we will go into talking about them a little bit later on in the scene. We're also going to do another news video, within the next day or so, talking about those transfers and various different things. I get that people want to talk about Everton, and obviously this is an Everton fan channel, so for the next however many days, months, years, we will be talking about Everton, but I wanted to do an international roundup on Jordan Pickford, on Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison, Yerry Mina, of course, who were all away, Luca Dean, who were all away with their international countries over the last 3-4 weeks or so, that I now will be returning back home to USM Finch Farm, obviously because of the international tournaments finishing, with the exception of Richarlison, who will be going to the Olympics. If you're enjoying, by the way, please hit that like button. It only takes a second. Hacken says Pickford has done a great season after he got his psychics in place. People still talking about him having to prove himself. Lives in a parallel universe. There you go. Danboy says Saka is a quality bloke and a quality player. I'll clap him before the match when Arsenal come to Goodison next season. Yeah, again, he's a young lad. He's a young lad who was given a situation that he probably shouldn't have been given, but maybe Bukayo Saka stood up and said, no, I want to take a penalty. I'm confident that I'll score the penalty. I want to take one, and to be fair, you can only applaud him for that. Damien says, I agree, Cam, let's talk about Everton transfers. Now, we will be talking about Everton transfers, don't you worry. That says, Keane will be beneath us as right winger next season. Well, Moise Keane is another massive topic of conversation, isn't he? Because we've gone from 3 or 4 weeks ago talking about Moise Keane as a player that Everton will definitely be selling or letting go in some form this summer, and he won't be an Everton player, to obviously him returning to Finch Farm earlier on. Last week we know he didn't return last Monday because it was part of a phased return because of COVID, and we had James back on last Monday, and we knew that Moise Keane would be returning at some point throughout the week after he'd gone through his period of isolation, I believe. And then, we've seen, obviously, on Saturday, Everton played a pre-season friendly. I don't know if they're officially calling it a pre-season friendly, but a behind-the-closed-doors friendly against Accrington Stanley, just to test fitness and see how players were after the first full week of training. Everton won that game 3-0. Rafa Benitez's first win as Everton manager, 100% record. Absolutely boss, get him. Rafa the gaffer, Rafa's boys are on the march again, up the table. Goals from Anthony Gordon. Who else scored on the day? Bear with me 2 seconds. I'm gonna get it up because I don't wanna see him arrogant. Tom Cannon scored, I believe, on that day. Anthony Gordon, and give me 2 seconds. Let me just scroll through my various pictures of Jordan Pickford that I've tweeted out over the last 48 hours or so. Lewis Gibson, Tom Cannon and Anthony Gordon all scored on that day. But Moise Keane was present at USM Finch Farm. He didn't play, obviously, because I think he's only just returned on Saturday to Finch Farm, but he was present. He was there in the Everton gear, which is absolutely brilliant to see as well. So Moise Keane, again, definitely a topic of conversation. Will he stay at Everton Football Club? Will he leave? Fabrizio Romano come out last week and said that Rafa Benitez wants to keep him at Everton and won't let him go out on loan. So if he's to leave, it will only be through a permanent transfer. And at the moment, PSG don't seem to want to pay the money for Moise Keane. So maybe we're in a situation where Moise Keane will be an Everton player next season. It's certainly a topic that we're going to talk about in greater detail over the next couple of days or so. Damien says, loving the new home kit, Cam, can't wait to get it. Yeah, we spoke about it on Friday. Absolutely love it myself. I think it's brilliant. Johnny says, lol, Cam, hope Pickford isn't talking to Psychic Stack Glenn Hoddle in big trouble, one of the old timers. Dan says, Pickford says, Dan Boy says, Richie had a good game in the final, was Brazil's best player. He did. We're going to talk about Richarlison in just a moment. Basic Trigonometry says, Southgate got it wrong even before the penalties, fair enough. Nico says, happy for Pickford, proving doubters wrong. Again, like we said, every single doubter is being silenced now. Damien says, JPG, great ball through. Yeah, John Philip Cabaman did play in that pre-season friendly. Again, don't know if they're calling it a pre-season friendly. Behind the closed doors friendly against Accrington Stanley on Saturday. Played an excellent ball through to Anthony Gordon for Anthony Gordon's goal. And looked really good, really strong, big, physical presence in the midfield. And obviously, look, again, we were playing Accrington Stanley in a pre-season friendly at the end of the first week of pre-season, and you can't take anything as absolute solid evidence that John Philip Cabaman's going to be able to do it in the Premier League. But he looked really good and really solid, and we can only go off what we've seen so far, and that was the most game time he's played in an Everton shirt. And listen, again, obviously we wish John Philip Gbamin as a fantastic season, and hopefully he can play a big part in our season next season. Danbury says, in the first person to get on Southgate's back usually, but he managed us superbly this summer and deserves credit. Akin says, don't be too cocky, lots of best athletes use professional to improve their mentality. Danbury says, let's do a rip around and get Alan St. Maximin to Everton. Yeah, Newcastle winger Alan St. Maximin was linked with Everton over the last couple of days or so. Don't particularly believe it, to be honest with you. But there you go. Aaron says, I ordered the home shirt, doesn't come till the 20th, sadly. What a sickener. It's 8 days away. If you're enjoying, by the way, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. I want to talk about Dominic Calvert-Lewin in a moment as well, because I feel a bit sorry for Dom, to be honest with you. Obviously, he's had that experience of going away with the England squad and being part of a major tournament and getting to the final, etc, etc. But I can't help but feel, and this might be an Everton bias, but I can't help but feel like Gareth Southgate could have used Dominic Calvert-Lewin a lot more than what he did. You look at situations like yesterday, for example, where Harry Kane is blatantly struggling to get any sort of fitness in the second half, and England are constantly throwing balls into the box. You've got Trippier and Shaw throwing balls in left, right and centre. You're sort of looking at it thinking, if only you had one of the most clinical headers of the ball in football on the bench to bring on. I do feel like Dominic Calvert-Lewin, hadn't given the opportunity, would have provided a lot more to England than maybe certain substitutes did at certain times throughout the tournament. But anyway, there you go. Eugene says, Rafa Benitez won £60 million for Alan St. Maximin at Everton. Yeah, I read it. It's a very easy rumour to talk about, isn't it, of course. Managed them at Newcastle, I believe. Again, you know, technically very good footballer, very fast, the type of winger that Everton could probably do with. I think he'd cost too much money for me for what he brings. I like him. I think he's a very good player, but I do think he struggles with consistency. But it's a very easy rumour to talk about and to make up, isn't it? Everton Blues says, hi Cam, Sombrero numero uno. I'm not saying it's made up, by the way, that rumour. I just don't personally believe it. Hi mate, Sombrero says, Pickford should have just taken one of the penalties himself. Those kids just waltzed it and blew it. Yeah, look, again, I said it myself yesterday. I would have been more confident with Jordan Pickford taking the final winning penalty, the final penalty, than, you know, Sancho or Rashford, etc. But let's be honest, that was never going to happen. Jordan Pickford wasn't ever taking a penalty unless it went, you know, sudden death and you know, obviously it went down to the goalkeepers. Danboy says, he's right, Cam, what a goalkeeper. I can't get enough of the mad bastard armband next season yet. Maybe armband may be going a bit too far at the moment, mate, but he'll certainly be in a contender for it in the coming season. But exactly, it was the Jorginho penalty that got me, because the camera zoomed right into Jordan Pickford's face beforehand, and you can literally lip read Jordan Pickford saying, come on then, and then he saves it, and he's boss. I love him. I absolutely love him. I told myself that. You know, again, I tell myself this all the time, and you'll, if you watch the streams often, you'll know this. If you're a member of the channel for a while, you'll know that I always tell myself that I won't get emotionally connected with any Everton player. I won't get emotionally attached to any Everton player ever again. But you see situations like last night, and you see his reaction, and you see, you know, everybody getting behind him, and you can't help but feel emotionally connected to Jordan Pickford, especially considering what he's gone through in the last 12 or 18 months. You know, let's not forget, members of the media, pundits, you know, opposition fans, they're all very, very fickle. One minute, you know, they loved Jordan Pickford in 2018 when he was saving penalties in a shootout against Colombia. They then all laughed at him. Oh, he's got tiny arms, he's this, he's that, he's the other, when he was playing for Everton Football Club. And now everyone's back to loving him again. So, you know, let's be honest, there'll probably come a time where certain fans who were absolutely loving Jordan Pickford yesterday, you'll be having a go with him in a couple of months' time. But I won't be one of them, because I just think he's absolutely brilliant. Forgotten Will, the movie, says Pickford was quality last night. Yeah, he was. Tazul says, hello mate, hi mate. Frank says Pickford was class, is right. Football fans thought as he grew his hair back in one day. Morning, Cam. What's happening, mate? Morning, mate. Hope you're doing well. Chenlar. What's happening, Chenlar? He says, hiya, Cam. I had the longest night out I think I've ever had the other day. I got back at 6 a.m. I was in work for 9. Don't know how I didn't get the sack. I basically slept my entire shift. Is right, mate. Yeah. We've all been there. We've all been there before, mate. Hopefully you didn't get caught doing it. Was that last night? Was it, or was that was that not for the game? Johnny says, JP had a great game. Your keeper saves 2 pens and you lose. He's done all he can. Spot on. Chris says, Pickford was quality last night. I'll admit that. And Tazul says, Pickford was amazing and deserved the winner's medal. Spot on. And CJ says, just won a trophy now, Cam. And last night was the chance. Obviously, I'd rather with Everton, but at this point, I'm starved. Yeah, like I said before, if you're a non-Evertonian watching this live stream, which I'm sure there's probably not many because it's an Everton live stream, but if you're a non-Evertonian watching this live stream, and you're an England fan, last night was exactly what it feels like to be an Everton fan. It just was. We're used to that. So there was probably no heartbreak between any Evertonians because we're just used to that. Anyway, if you're enjoying, please hit that like button. It only takes a second. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe. But yeah, let's move on to talking about Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Jordan Pickford, absolutely unbelievable tournament. Unbelievable goalkeeper. One of the best in world football at the moment and deserves every single bit of credit he gets. And if you were a critic of Jordan Pickford, whether you support Everton or not from months ago, I hope your praise is as loud as your criticism was, because it deserves to be, because that lad deserves nothing but praise. He done absolutely everything he could have yesterday. He saved 2 penalties in a 5 penalty shootout against the Italians, who are notoriously very good at penalties, as well as multiple massive saves throughout the game, as well as multiple massive saves throughout the tournament as well. But Dominic Calvert-Lewin, again, strange one for Dom, because I'm sure Dom will probably have, mixed emotions waking up this morning. He'll probably feel proud to be a part of this England team and to be a part of this England setup and to have been a member of the squad. But I can't help but feel like Dominic Calvert-Lewin will feel a little bit disappointed to have not been given as much of an opportunity as what he would have liked, and certainly what we would have liked to have seen as well. As Evertonians, we know what Dominic Calvert-Lewin can bring, and part and parcel of the reason as to why we're all so happy about Jordan Pickford's success, and we're all so thrilled to see Jordan Pickford getting the praise he deserves, is because we all know as Evertonians what Jordan Pickford can do. We all know as Evertonians how good of a goalkeeper Jordan Pickford can be. We know that he was our best player in the last 3, 4, 5 months of the season. So I feel like part and parcel of the reason as to why we're all, sort of proud of him and sort of made up to be associated with Jordan Pickford is not only because of how good he was, but because how good we know he can be, and how those types of performances yesterday and throughout the tournament weren't a surprise to us. And that's part and parcel of the reason as to why we're all so proud of Jordan, is because we know that he's put those performances in for Everton, and now he's doing it for England on the biggest stage in the European Championship final. And I feel like that is the same sort of emotion we've got towards Dominic Calvert-Lewin at the moment. Is we're all sort of bitterly disappointed, not because, and I've seen a lot of people on Twitter over the last day or so saying, "Oh, you're just biased. Funny how you want Calvert-Lewin on because he plays for Everton." No, I don't want Calvert-Lewin on the pitch because he plays for Everton. If I didn't think Dominic Calvert-Lewin could have affected that tournament, I wouldn't be calling for him to come on. But the reality of the situation is, whether you like it or not, Dominic Calvert-Lewin would have offered England something a lot different than any other substitute could have offered England. Jack Grealish, unbelievable player, offers us something that nobody else offers us in terms of picking the ball up and winning fouls and this, that and the other. Various other players are excellent as well. But Dominic Calvert-Lewin offers England something a lot different to anything else. His aerial presence is unmatched in that England squad. There's not one player in that England squad with the aerial presence that Dominic Calvert-Lewin has. He's a good goal scorer. He scored over 20 goals last season for Everton. He's not just there on merit because he's tall and he's a good header of the ball. He can score goals with his feet. He scored in last-minute situations for Everton last season when, there's been a lot of pressure on it and we've needed somebody to step up. Dominic Calvert-Lewin has stepped up. He's a massive target man, so if you're going to throw balls into the box, then you throw balls into a box that Dominic Calvert-Lewin's lurking around. He's physically dominant. We were coming up, England come up yesterday against 2 massive centre-halves, 2 of the best centre-halves to ever play football. Chiellini and Bonucci, 2 of the best centre-halves to ever play football. And Harry Kane is a brilliant striker, of course he is, but I can't help but feel like Dominic Calvert-Lewin would have given those 2 centre-halves something to think about. Something to think about that no other England player could give them to think about. Certainly in the second half and onwards. The first half, yeah, fine, whatever, but the second half onwards. And I feel like that's the story of Dom's tournament, to be honest with you, is that not only last night, but he hasn't really been given an opportunity to prove himself. And I get that, Southgate's got a lot of players there and a lot of players he wants to, bring on and give opportunities to, etc. But when you've got a striker there who scored 20 goals in the previous Premier League season, and he's very dominant in the air, and he can hold the ball up, and he wins fouls, and he's quick off the mark as well, and you've got a squad of players, and that striker sat on the bench, and you've got a squad of players who are struggling to create many chances. Let's be honest, other than the Ukraine game, England weren't fast goal scoring. The games were tight, the games were close. England might have been, very good in the games, or much better than the opponent, but they were very close. Beat Denmark with a penalty that, let's be honest, wasn't a penalty. The Croatia game, extremely close. The Scotland game ended 0-0. The Czech game, close as well. The Germany game, okay, it was 2-0, but it was close. So England weren't scoring 4, 5, 6 goals in every game, barring the Ukraine game. So you look at Dominic Calvert-Lewin and you think, why isn't he being given that opportunity? And there is that selfish element, and Chenla says it in the comments. I didn't want DCL to come on because he's an Everton player. I wanted him to come on because he's the backup striker. If it was Ollie Watkins there instead, I would have wanted him to come on. Spot on, mate, spot on. And there is a bit of a selfishness that some Evertonians might feel. And maybe I, felt at times to say, no, I don't want Dom to come on, because if he comes on, he runs the risk of getting an injury. And if he gets an injury, then that affects Everton. And if he stays on the bench, then he's not going to get injured, this, that, and the other. But for Dominic Calvert-Lewin himself, and I've said this numerous times before about England players, and I've said it about Richarlison on a number of times. I said it when we spoke about the Olympics. These, Dominic Calvert-Lewin hasn't grown up an Evertonian. Richarlison hadn't grown up an Evertonian. Their aims when they were a young, aspiring footballer was to play for their countries. So us as Evertonians wanting Dominic Calvert-Lewin to not come on for England because it means that he won't run the risk of getting an injury for Everton. Dom's not sitting there going, I don't want to come on here because I don't want to risk an injury for Everton. Dom's sitting there thinking, I want to come on and impact this game. I want to be the player that everyone looks at and goes, oh my God, this lad has won us the tournament, or this lad is the reason as to why England have won the tournament. And I just feel like, as Chenla says, Dom could have offered something a lot different in various different games, not just last night, by the way, but in various different games. Dom could have offered England something a lot, different. He had his debut a couple of months ago in a friendly. He scored twice, scored 2 goals in his senior debut. One was a header that you were both within the 6-yard box. If you've got a tactic, which England seemed to have yesterday, of lashing balls into the box, and you've not got arguably the most clinical striker in the Premier League at scoring in those situations, I just don't understand it. I really, really don't understand it. And I do feel for Dom. I really feel for Dom because, it does seem like it's been a bit of a waste of his time. I'm sure he'll disagree and say it was a brilliant experience being part of the squad and being part of the team and, getting to a final and this, that and the other. And I'm sure Dom will absolutely, will revel in that and will become a better player because of that experience. But I can't help but feel like it has been a little bit of a waste of his time, because we're not just talking about a striker in Dominic Calvert-Lewin who can't really offer England anything, or couldn't really have offered anything that nobody else could have offered. We're talking about a player who could have genuinely changed games for England, could have genuinely won that final last night. And I'm not just saying that because I'm an Evertonian and I'm biased. I'm saying it because I genuinely believe that Dominic Calvert-Lewin coming on the 75th, 75th minute, giving Bonucci and Chiellini something else to think about, something that they're not used to, by the way, because they haven't played against Dominic Calvert-Lewin before. They've never come up against a player like Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Something else to think about, something else to worry about. The last thing. And again, not putting any blame on Saka or Grealish or Rashford or Sanchez or anything like that. But Chiellini and Bonucci, they've been looking at them going, okay, good, technical, quick players, not very physical though. So if we get them in a physical battle, we'll be able to have them off all day long. All day long, no issues whatsoever. Chiellini and Bonucci look at Dominic Calvert-Lewin and think, Jesus Christ, look at this lad, 6'2", 6'3", coming on, built like a brick shit out, same height as us, if not a little bit taller, physical centre-half, brilliant centre-forward, brilliant in the air. It'd have given them something different to worry about, and I just feel like Dom wasn't utilised in the ways in which he should have been utilised in this tournament, and I feel really sorry for Dom because I think he knows that as well. He'll have been sitting on that bench, and obviously he wouldn't have said anything to Gareth Southgate because he's a very respectful young man, and he'll have understood every decision that Southgate made, and he'd have appreciated every decision that Southgate made. But I can't help but feel like Dom would have been sat on that bench thinking, just get me on because I can offer something different. And it's disappointing, and obviously everybody's disappointed, and Jordan will be disappointed, but from an Everton player who's had a fantastic tournament and silenced a lot of doubters, to an Everton player who could have been the difference for England, or could have certainly offered England something more than what we were seeing, and wasn't given the opportunity to do so. Nico says Dom looked gutted after the game. He did. Samuel says, hello mate. Hi mate, how you doing? Ewan says, who would you keep? Would you keep or sell Gylfi Sigurdsson in the summer transfer window? You know what? I'd probably sell him because his contract's coming up. He's getting to that age now. I like Gylfi-Sigurdsson. I think he had a great season last season. But I think if you can make some money back on him, this is probably the last chance we're going to get to make some money back on him because of his age and his contract, etc. So, yeah, I'd probably sell him personally. But again, I think we're going to do a keep sell video. Maybe on Wednesday we'll sit down and we'll do a keep sell video. Who do we want to stay? Who do we want to go? So yeah, look out for that one. Union says, oh, there we go. You should do a keep sell or buy video. Yeah. Nico says, not often you see Jorginho not score a pen. Fair play, Pickford. Exactly spot on. Again, one of the best penalty takers in world football. Tweety says, I did not expect Pickford to save a pen against Jorginho. There you go. Smith says, it's coming home. Johnny says, think DCL and many others were there to provide training opposition for the first 11. Many players chronically underused. Well, yeah, again. Just top tea everywhere there. Don't know if you've seen that. And again, look, maybe that is why Dom was there to just be a little bit of a competition for Harry Kane or for Sterling or for Sancho or whatever, but I don't agree with that. I just don't agree with it whatsoever. I just think Dominic Calvert-Lewin would have offered England something so different to what anybody else could, including Harry Kane, by the way. Harry Kane is a very, very good, striker, but Dom offers something different to what Harry Kane does. John says DCL would have done more than Kane. He won them the under-21s World Cup. He has no baggage. Jordan's second penalty save with world-class banks. Toothy says, Cam, your bias is really showing, and no offence, but Kane is the man that can change games, not DCL. But it's not a bias, mate, because Harry Kane started every game for England and played. I think he come off once, And don't get me wrong, Harry Kane is a very good footballer. And to be fair to Harry Kane, I thought he looked brilliant yesterday on the ball. Off the ball, I think he's struggling massively. I don't think he's fit whatsoever. But on the ball, he's a very, very good footballer. He really, really is. He's an unbelievable striker. And I'm not suggesting Kane come off. Why has it got to be Kane come off for Calvert-Lewin? Why can't a Mount go off for Calvert-Lewin, who had a shocker yesterday? Why couldn't a Sterling go off for Calvert-Lewin, who, okay, has been very good this tournament, but again, struggled yesterday? Why can't you have Kane and Calvert-Lewin? Why can't you have Harry Kane? Because let's be honest, you watch yesterday's game and all Harry Kane done was drop into the midfield and pick the ball up and try and create. He was effectively playing as an attacking midfielder, not a striker. So if you've got a player who is very good, technically very good, like Harry Kane is, dropping into the midfield and picking the ball up and trying to play balls through, then would you rather have a Sterling running onto that, or a Mason Mount who's looked poor all tournament, or a Dominic Calvert-Lewin who's one of the most clinical strikers in the Premier League, feeding off of Harry Kane? Why can't them two have played together? B Animation says, Cam, are you doing watch-alongs for the pre-season games? I don't know. There's a couple, obviously, that are extremely late at night. I've never done a watch-along before. Maybe I'll give it a go. Who knows? Tazu says, feel sorry for Dom. Should have put him on for the last half hour. At least he would have bullied that old entire Italy defence and would have been good in the year. And Tazu also says, Southgate would rather flog Kane to death than take a risk on Dom. Phillips says, that was a disgrace. On camera, he said Donnarumma was the best keeper of the tournament and ignored Jordan. The hatred of Jordan is acceptable. Who are we talking about there? I must have missed that one. I must have missed it. Basic Trigonometry says Mount was a proper hologram yesterday. And Terry says Grealish, Sterling and Sancho should all be starting for England. Could you imagine them three constantly running at you with creativity? But he's got to stick with his love child, Mount. Liam says I would have put Dom up against their two centre-halves, then came behind Dom in the hole he can create, put the ball into the box, which would mean at least two in the box. Spots on. And Ben says, is Richie going? Awobi had number 7 on at the friendly. No, the friendly numbers don't mean anything, mate. The friendly numbers don't mean anything. James had number 10 on, and as much as it would be nice for James Rodriguez to wear the number 10 next season, I can't help but feel like if Richarlison, if Gylfi-Sigurdsson stays at the football club, he will have number 10 on. So the numbers in the friendlies, they just get given a number, 1 to 11 to play in. It doesn't, unless a player specifically asks for the separate number, they'll just get given a number. The actual official numbers won't get decided until just before the start of the Premier League season, I would assume, or at least that's typically what happens. But anyway, yeah, look. That's England out the way. Jordan Pickford, unbelievable tournament. Wimmy says, hi guys, hi Wimmy, how you doing? Jordan Pickford, unbelievable tournament. Dominic Calvert-Lewin probably could have been utilised a lot better by Gareth Southgate, but wasn't. Let's move on to the South American side of things. The Copa America. Brazil, unfortunately, again, we had a defeat yesterday in the Euros. We had a defeat yesterday morning, in fact it was, wasn't it, late Saturday night, Sunday morning, in the Copa America final. Unfortunately, Richarlison and Brazil fell to a 1-0 defeat to Argentina. A lot of people were happy about that because it meant that Lionel Messi had won his first international tournament of his career. I couldn't really give a shit about what Lionel Messi wins because he's got no affiliation with Everton whatsoever. So I personally was quite disappointed myself because I wanted Brazil and I wanted Richarlison to lift that trophy again because he's lifted it once already, and Richarlison is a player who takes a lot of pride from playing for his country, as shown in the last couple of weeks or so with the whole situation surrounding the Olympics. So it was extremely disappointing to see Brazil fall to a defeat, and ultimately again it's extremely disappointing for Everton, 3 Everton players to get to finals of major international competitions and not one of them walk away with an international trophy. Like I said, for anybody that's not an Evertonian, this is how it feels to be an Evertonian. If you're Brazilian or if you're English watching and you're not in a blue, this is how it feels to be a blue. And yeah, it was disappointing. Richarlison was very good in the game. He was very good. He actually scored a goal which would have made it 1-1 at the time, and Di Maria opened the scoring for Argentina, but he was offside. And to be fair, when it went to VAR, he was quite considerably offside as well. But yeah, obviously gutting, horrible scenes to see Richarlison, with his head in his hands and sort of in tears, and it's never nice, is it? It's never nice to see, the players that you support for the entire season to go away with their countries and to, obviously to have their dreams sort of broken and destroyed. Same with Dom and Jordan Pickford, of course. And it wasn't nice with Richarlison either. And look, Richarlison has been very successful for Brazil in his career so far. He's still very, very young, and I'm sure he'll have a lot more success in the future with Brazil. He's a fantastic, fantastic young player, and he's certainly a solidified member of that Brazilian national team now. Obviously, I think he's won the Copa America before with Brazil. So, again, I'm sure he'll have plenty more opportunities to win major honours with his country, including, the World Cup coming up next season. However, it is really disappointing, and it's really gutting to see Richarlison, again, similar to Calvert-Lewin and Jordan Pickford, fall into a defeat in a major international final on Sunday morning. Some, like I said, might have been happy because Lionel Messi won. I don't really give a shit about Lionel Messi, to be honest with you. I don't particularly like him as a player. I think he's massively arrogant, and he doesn't have any affiliation with Everton, whereas Richarlison doesn't. I wanted Richarlison and Brazil to win that tournament. Some people might think differently, and that's fine. But again, unfortunately, very, very disappointing. Very disappointing for Richarlison and very disappointing for Brazil. Obviously, we know now Richarlison will go away with Brazil for the upcoming Olympics. Again, Everton had given Richarlison the permission to do that after there seemed to be a little bit of a disagreement as to whether or not that should happen. It will be happening. Richarlison will be going away with Brazil for the Olympics, which I don't think is due to finish until the 7th of August, which is a week before the Premier League season starts. So, again, my biggest worry with Richarlison is that he's constantly playing football, and that might make no sense to anybody. But for me, when you've got a player there who has played pretty much every game of the season for the last 3 seasons on the bounce, and then played in international tournaments in every summer in between those seasons, you sort of look at a player like that and think there's going to become a point where you burn out. And Richarlison last season for Everton, let's be honest, wasn't very good. He struggled massively throughout the entire season, and you look at it and think the last thing Richarlison needed coming into next season was to have a poor season last season, go straight into the Copa America, get to the final with Brazil, lose the final, so he hasn't even got that elation of winning a trophy at the end of it, lose the final, and then go straight in to the Olympics. All I can say is that I hope either Brazil win the Olympics, so Richarlison comes back absolutely made up and with an Olympic gold medal, or they go out very, very early on in the tournament so he gets a little bit more rest. The last thing Everton need is for Richarlison to get all the way to the final of the Olympics and then for Brazil to lose and then, play 2 tournaments where he's gone all the way. He's had no rest in the summer whatsoever. He'll get a week or 2 weeks off, which is, let's be honest, very little, and he's also got nothing to show for it either because Brazil have lost in both of those games. So, again, the Olympics thing is definitely a talking point and definitely something that some Evertonians will agree with. Some Evertonians mightn't care. Some Evertonians will be frustrated about. I am slightly frustrated about it, but I also don't blame Richarlison. Again, I've said it on a number of occasions before about Richarlison and about various other Everton players. these footballers don't grow up supporting Everton. They don't grow up supporting and wanting to play at Goodison Park. He probably loves Everton. Well, he does love Everton now and he wants to play at Goodison Park now. But when Richarlison was a young lad growing up playing football in the streets, when Dominic Calvert-Lewin was a young lad growing up playing football in the streets, their dreams are to play for their countries. Their dreams are to be successful for their countries. And obviously, unfortunately for both players and Jordan Pickford as well, who've had the same dreams, they haven't been successful in this case. But Richarlison now got another opportunity to go away in the Olympics and be successful. And yes, it's not ideal for Everton, because it means that he has pretty much no rest whatsoever after a poor season at Everton anyway. He's gone into 2 international tournaments and then is going to come out of the Olympics with very little rest ahead of the new season, and will probably miss the first 2, 3, 4 games of the season, whatever it might be, through simply not being fit enough or being worn out. But that's his team, that's what he wanted to do. And if I've got aspirations of keeping Richarlison for another season, which according to various reports, Rafa Benitez does want to keep Richarlison. Fabrizio Romano again himself come out and pretty much silenced the reports linking Richarlison with a move to Real Madrid, saying that Everton have got no interest in selling Richarlison. There's nothing between him and Real Madrid, and Rafa Benitez hopes that he'll stay at the club for at least another season. If Everton have got those hopes and want to convince Richarlison to stay at Everton for at least another season, then maybe the best decision is to just allow him to go to the Olympics. And maybe Richarlison's gone, look, you want me to stay for another season, I'm happy to commit to that, but I want to go and play in the Olympics with Brazil. And again, will that hinder his season next season? Who knows? Hopefully not. Hopefully, like I said, they either win the competition, so he's coming back with something to show for it, and he's coming back with a positive mentality, and he's happy and he's ready to go, or they go out very, very early on, so he gets a rest. Because the last thing we need is for Brazil to get knocked out in the final of the Olympics, and for Richarlison to have gone all the way into international competitions and not won anything, and then be coming into a Premier League season that, let's be honest, we need them for. We need, effectively and ideally, we need Richarlison 100% fit for that first game of the season against Southampton. Will he be? No. He probably won't even play. He might even be in the country. He might still be away at that point, because he'll have to have a rest after the Olympics. But that's ideally what we need, because he's one of our best players. Whether he had a good season or not last season, for the last 3 seasons, he's been absolutely unbelievable for Everton. So we need him to be fit. We need him to be ready. Look, again, for Everton and for Evertonians, it's not the best decision, and it's not the best situation for him to go away with Brazil for the Olympics, but that's the decision he wants, and he wants to represent his country, and that's nothing surprising. We know Richarlison is a very patriotic man and likes to represent Brazil, and again, who are we to take that away from him? You might say we're his club and we pay his wages, but if Everton have agreed to do that, then Everton have agreed to do that, and that's the decision. And maybe Rafa Benitez has come in and gone, look, we don't need another situation. We already need to sign 4 or 5 players. We already, need to improve the squad drastically. We don't need another situation where one of our key players is unhappy. So give him what he wants, and then we'll assess, in the coming weeks, by either bringing in maybe another winger to go in Richarlison's place whilst he's away with Brazil, or whilst he's recovering from the Olympics. So there you go. Unfortunately for Richarlison, he was on the losing end of a Copa America final after Argentina beat Brazil 1-0. Argentina winning their first major honour in Lionel Messi's footballing career. And yeah, unfortunately for Richarlison, he doesn't pick up a winner's medal this time round. Yerry Mina, of course, did play in a 3rd place playoff game for Colombia against Peru on Friday night. Colombia were successful. They were, or Saturday morning it was, Colombia were victorious. They beat Peru 3-2. Therefore, Yerry Mina wins a 3rd place playoff game and takes the 3rd place. So Brazil 2nd place in the Copa America, and Colombia were, of course, 3rd place. So again, not sure whether he gets a medal or a trophy for it or whatever, but at least Yerry Mina's Colombia won their 3rd place playoff game over the weekend, and yeah, at least an Everton players won something over the weekend. But yeah, there you go. That's pretty much it for the international roundup. We will get back in the live comments before we finish up. If you're enjoying the stream, by the way, please hit the like button. It only takes a second. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe. But that's pretty much it for the international roundup. There's not much more to talk about, to be honest with you. Obviously, Lucas Digne unfortunately picked up that injury in for France earlier on in the tournament, and France, of course, were knocked out earlier on in the tournament as well. So we do wish Lucas Digne a very, very speedy recovery, and we hope that he recovers really, really well in order to come back, hopefully fully fit for next season. But other than that, yeah, I think there's no other Everton players involved in major tournaments. Obviously, Robin Olsen was involved in the Euros with Sweden, but isn't currently an Everton player. And yet now we're back to focusing on Everton. Don't you worry, the Everton content will be coming in thick and fast. We're going to talk about Moise Kean over the next couple of days or so. We're going to talk about James Rodriguez and his future over the next couple of days. We're going to talk about a buy, keep or sell video. Who do I think should stay? Who do I think should go? That'll be coming over the next couple of days as well. Various transfer videos, various transfer topics to be talked about. We're going to talk about Alan St. Maximum in a video. A little bit later on today, we're going to be talking about... again, Richarlison going away with Brazil in the Olympics. So listen, don't forget, if you're new, to hit that subscribe button. We have talked a bit about international football today, and if you haven't liked that, I do apologise, but we haven't just talked about the international games for the sake of it. We've talked about them because there've been Everton players involved, and unfortunately Everton players on the losing sides of finals. So if you've enjoyed it, please hit that like button. It only takes a second if you're new. Don't forget to subscribe. Wayme says, I have hoped he could be good like Basuma, but bigger. John says, need players in now so they can settle. Yeah, then listen, the focus now for Everton, obviously post the Euros and post the Copa America, the focus now, and post obviously the home kit being released as well, the focus now is bringing in players. The focus now is signing players and improving this squad, because that's what we need. Effectively, that's what we need. We need to go out and we need to improve this squad drastically if we're going to achieve anything next season. So that's the main focus now. Semi says, some game hunters in reporting saying that they thought it was the mythical Wakabaman. Wayme says he looked like he glanced only Accrington, but Kabam looked good. Wayme says the year of JP, let's hope so. Emil says they probably let Richarlison go because he keeps him away from transfers. Well, yeah, maybe again, and maybe Richarlison has gone, look, if you want me to commit for another year, let me go and play in the Olympics for Brazil. Maybe he hasn't, and maybe that hasn't even come into the conversation, but maybe that's something in the thought process of Rafa Benitez and Marcel Brands and those at Everton who've allowed Richarlison to go away with Brazil. Danboy says, I keep Gylfi, to be honest. Rafa plays 4-2-3-1 and use Gylfi as a 10. Fair enough. Where would we use James then in that situation, Dan? I'm not disagreeing with you, I'm not arguing with you, but just in your opinion, Dan, where would James be used if he was to stay? Because again, returned to pre-season training on Monday, looked happy, looked like he was relatively excited to be there. Played in the game obviously on Saturday against Accrington Stanley. There's been a lot of reports about him potentially joining AC Milan. They have calmed down a lot over the last sort of week or so. So where does James fit in if he is to stay? Adam says, up the toffees, we march on as one. Is right, mate. Danbury says, JP Gabaman has been in the gym for 2 years. Bloke looks like a complete unit now. He does. He looks unbelievable. John Jones says, small margins and luck can play a big part in football and life in general. Hard to blame anybody. John also says, I think we are too nice with Richie in the Olympics and too nice to Keane. Rafa needs to kick ass with some players. Well, maybe being nice to players in this day and age is what's needed. Players hold a lot of the power, don't they? Robert says, hi Cam, how many goals were scored by headers and were missed? Where was Dom the best header of the ball? I don't quite understand that, mate. You'd have to explain that one again. I'm not quite understanding of that. Liam says, is Moise Kean in training today? If Everton are training today, I would assume Moise Kean will be training today as well. He was back at Finch Farm on Saturday, so of course he's back. He's in the bubble now, or whatever you want to call it. So I'm sure he'll be a part of training as well. Alex says, starting a funding page for a golden glove for Pickford. We'd get enough for solid gold trust. You've got this class act. Adam Brooks says, anyone that dares slay Pickford after the effort he put in can just sod off. Pickford did everything he could, and I'm proud of him. His club and nation. He made this club and nation proud. He did. Spot on. Teddy says Pickford should be captain, not Kane. There you go. Philip says hi. Adam says England's number one. There you go. And yeah, there you go. Wimmy says, hey Phil, how's it going? Let's not talk about Southgate. Damien says, I think the club let Richie go because they didn't want him splitting his dummy out and wanting to move. Maybe. Semi says, PSG want Keane, no loan. They know what he can do and how he fits into their team. Need to pay up. Literally how this works. Well, exactly. And Rafa Benitez, Fabrizio Romano come out and said Rafa Benitez has effectively said, if you want Moise Kean, you will buy Moise Kean. He's not going on loan. And Moise Kean, again, was smiling at Finch Farm. Now, you can take very little from a picture of a footballer smiling as to how they're feeling. And to be honest, if you were to ask me now, Cam, how do you think Moise Kean is feeling at this very moment? I'd probably say he's thinking, I want to go to PSG. I hope PSG sign me this summer. But that doesn't mean that feeling can change. That doesn't mean that with a couple of conversations with Rafael Benitez or a couple of training sessions at Everton that he might go, actually, do you know what? If I'm going to get an opportunity here playing in the Premier League, I want to stay. Adam says, does that practice match count as a pre-season match? I don't think Everton are counting it as a pre-season match, mate. I think they're just counting it as a behind closed doors friendly at the end of the first week of pre-season, hence why it wasn't really reported on until after it had happened, but maybe they will count it because it was a win. John Jones says, can't lose anyone who scores goals, i.e. Siggy and James. We are 20 goals short of Europe. Paul says, if Richarlison is missing for 4 weeks, we're surely going to need another striker or winger. Who do you think we need? Spot on, mate. Obviously, there's the likes of Rafael Lau at AC Milan, who, again, is a very good player. Leon Bailey, who's constantly being talked about by Evertonians. There's a lot of good wingers and forwards out there that Everton should be looking at bringing in this summer. Come on, you Blues. As PSG wants cheap Keane. It was down his contract to him through loan. Well, and that's where Everton need to stand deep and say, no, if you're not going to pay for him, then he's not going anywhere. Barry says, no media mentioning Pickford's heroics and excellent tournaments. I guess their silence can be taken as some sort of praise because they're all programmed to hate on him Muppets. And that's it. And that's the saddening thing, is there's genuinely people within the media and pundits who won't give Jordan Pickford plaudits and won't give Jordan Pickford credit because they don't want to be seen as being wrong. And if I was a pundit and I'd come out and slated the player in the past for being poor, and then they'd prove me wrong, I'd come out and say, look, I was massively proved wrong there, he's been absolutely excellent. But some pundits have got too big of an ego to do that. Semi says, spot on, Cam, we can keep him and see what Rafa can do with him. Exactly. John Jones says, interesting that nobody is talking about Rafa today. We've just accepted he's the new manager. I'm happy with it. Have a go at me all you want, anyone. I'm happy with Rafa Benitez as the new Everton manager. I think you're seeing the pictures of him and he's always talking to players. He looks like he's clued up. He looks like he knows what he's doing. He knows what he wants to do. And listen, he's the manager now, so what's the point in even talking about it? Let's just look forward. Nunes is a no-go now. Yeah, apparently according to Portuguese media, that Matheus Nunes is, again, it's all up in the air because Everton didn't bring in Nuno, etc. I don't think it was ever as close as some people thought, to be honest. We want Koulibaly, that is according to media today, exactly. Wimmy says, think that was through Nuno and Mendes. Yeah, there you go. Damien says, we're linked with both Adams and Dumfries. Nuno's situation is a strange one. Looked a done deal and now. Says Semi. Adam says, will Anthony Gordon and Ellis Sims or Moise Kean get minutes? I think Moise Kean, if he stays, will. I think the other two should be loaned out again. Semi says, like Sims to stay one more year on loan to Blackpool. That'd be great, obviously, in the Championship now. And Wimmy says he played Gordon in the friendly, scored. He did. But again, whether or not... and look... We're talking about a different manager here, by the way, so it's very easy for us to confuse ourselves with the Carlo Ancelotti mentality of he doesn't play youth and he won't. So if it was still Carlo Ancelotti, I'd say, yeah, Sims will go back out on loan, Gordon will go back out on loan, Branthwaite might go out on loan, but Rafa Benitez might be looking at this squad a little bit different. He might be looking at those players and thinking, no, I want to keep them here, I want to utilise the youth, I want to bring on Anthony Gordon's energy in Premier League games to give us something different. So that's exciting in itself, isn't it? And Human says we will end up with Adams and Koulibaly. I personally don't think we will, but they've both been linked today. Anyway, we're going to finish it there then. If you have enjoyed it, please do hit that like button. We're going to talk about Kalidou Koulibaly, Max Adams, and various other names. Denzel Dumfries as well in a separate video. We're going to do it in another news video later on today. So we're going to talk about those players. So please do check that one out. But if you've enjoyed this one, please hit that like button. It only takes a second. It really, really does. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. We're open to 5k before the start of the Premier League season. So we've got about a month to go and about 350 subscribers to go. So if you could hit that subscribe button, it would mean an absolutely massive amount to me. Once again, massive thanks to Amanda for donating to the live stream. I don't know if somebody else donated because the donation button seems to show more than what I can see. So if anybody else has donated, let me know, and I don't want to have missed the comments or missed the donation. But big thanks to Amanda. Massive thanks to everybody in the live comments for getting involved as always. I really, really do appreciate it. If you're watching as a YouTube video, leave your thoughts in the comments and we'll get involved with as many of them as we possibly can. Semi says, thanks Cam, take care everyone. Cheers mate, really appreciate that. Wimmy says, see you guys, see you Wimmy. Damien says, later, Cam, mate. Cheers, Damien. John says, top again, Cam. Cheers, John. Appreciate that. Adam says, who is Carlo you speak of? Or you mean to punish ESL teams, but I'll join one anyway. Yeah, he's the man who shall not be named, a bit like Voldemort, isn't he? B says, Matheus Nunes link is false. His agent linked us with him, according to Ryan Taylor. There you go. agent stuff again. Paul says, do you think we'll be looking for the second keeper like Olsen? We've got to look for the second keeper because we haven't got one now other than João Virginia. John says, Arsenal and Spurs are in our sights next season. And Damien says, Cam, name your prime transfers. It's difficult, isn't it? Because I'd love like Leon Bailey and I'd love Denzel Dumfries and these types of players. It's unrealistic for the situation Everton are currently in with financial fair play. And Wayne says, what red melter hit thumbs down? What a melter. Listen, if you're hitting the thumbs down, at least you're coming on and giving a view. So there you go. Big thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. If you've enjoyed it, leave a like. Subscribe if you're new. Massive thanks to everybody in the live comments as usual. Big thanks to everybody watching as a YouTube video. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And we'll see you soon on The Mighty Blues.